All right, Pacific Division, we're going to bang this out real quick. Standings, this is how it's sorted by, is by the standings. You got 1 through 4, 5 through 8. Red teams are teams looking to sell. Green teams looking to buy. Again, take it with a grain of salt. We're just about halfway through the season. Players' names will come up in rumors that aren't on the board as they have in the past. And I'll do videos on that in the future. Starting off with the Canucks. Canucks, probably one of the best scoring teams in the entire league. I think they're ranked first in terms of overall goals per game. Defense, solid. You're talking about a top 5, top 10 defense in the league. You have Thatcher Demko in net. What are you looking to upgrade? It's that second line. Also, who's your second line center? Is it Pia Suter? Is it Teddy Bluger? What's going on there? Both more suited for that third line role. So I think if you're going to upgrade, you're not only looking for a 2C, but you're also looking for a second line winger. That second line, in terms of time on ice, slightly below league average. In terms of production, offensive production, slightly below league average. So if you're looking to upgrade somewhere on that team, it's got to be that second line. They're also probably going to look for depth defense, but, you know, the focus should be on the second line. No cap space for this team. If they're going to make a splash, it's going to be dollar in, dollar out. Remember, they do have Teddy Bluger on a pretty attractive contract, $1.9 million. He could be one of those pieces to move and upgrade from. Also, keep in mind, their bottom 6 has been highly productive. They have some key cogs they could potentially move that hold value that necessarily didn't have value last year. The first line's been great too, but I don't see that changing. You also have Andrei Kuzmenko. Kuzmenko has another year left on his contract after this year at $5.5 million. Had a great season last year. He scored at like a 40-goal pace or something. Having kind of a down year this year. If you're looking to upgrade that second line, this could be one of those guys you look to move that has value and has cap space you're looking to dump to replace and upgrade. Again, you don't want to hold on to Kuzmenko too long, because if he continues to not necessarily perform this year and into next year, his value will drop a lot more than it already is at. Dakota Joshua could be on the move. I like Joshua. I think he's a good fit in Vancouver. Sam Lafferty is interesting. Fourth line minutes, like the dude plays less than or about 12 minutes a game, and he's just under a half point per game. Playing on that fourth line for the most part. We've seen him move up and down the lineup and so on, but for the most part, bottom 6 guy. That's a guy that they could potentially move and have quite a few. He has quite a few values. They could move him, right? They could also trade picks, futures. Picks wouldn't surprise me to trade. Futures, always a bit of a question mark. I had Podkolzin in a question mark. Number 10 overall draft pick a couple years ago. Not quite performing up to what you want to see him play at an AHL level. AHL, I think I jumbled my letters a bit. Atu Ratty, also one of those key pieces. Personally, I'd like to see both these players kept, but you could see a player like Podkolzin traded out while he has value, kind of for a fresh new start. So we'll keep an eye on that. It's a solo operation here. Golden Knights, no cap space as well. What are they looking for? Probably a middle 6 wing, maybe a bottom 6 forward. You have Jack Eichel, you have Chandler Stevenson as your top 2 centers, and they're great at that role. But who would they be able to trade? That is the big question. Chandler Stevenson is on an expiring contract. He's not signed to an extension. If the talks have failed, we could see him on his way out. I don't think they trade him, but I have to have him on the board because he will come up in rumors. So I don't think Stevenson will be traded, just to be clear, but he's on the board. You also have Matt Amadio on the board as well with a question mark. Alec Martinez, again, I don't think they trade Alec Martinez either. He's a shot-blocking machine. He eats minutes, especially at his age. He's probably not looking for a pay increase at this point in his career. I think this is a guy you keep and you re-sign, but isn't re-signed yet. UFA at the end of this year. So who knows, right? William Carrier, we wanted to see a little more for Carrier. Haven't quite seen it yet. He could be a key cog move. They have 3 goalies technically with Robin Lehner on the IR. Maybe we see the goalie on the move if the price is right. And picks futures, just looking to upgrade their offense as a whole. Kings also very little cap space. Pretty solid roster from top to bottom. You have needs at the bottom 6 forward, and maybe your third pairing defenseman needs a bit of an upgrade. Who could they be trading? Well, they have 3 goalies in Cam Talbot, Phoenix Copley, and David Riddick. Goalie could be on the move to a team that needs one. Riddick's played extremely well. Copley, we know they like Copley, especially from last year when he was getting those teams wins. And Cam Talbot's been playing on a whole nother level this year. So you're not going to get really likely either of these guys through waivers in Copley and Riddick. So you're probably going to have to trade one for value, and teams are hungry for goalies, so you're probably going to get some type of return. Riddick's played well, too. I think he's like 926 save percentage in 3 games. Trevor Lewis, expiring contract. Anderson Dolan, expiring contract. Picks futures. Kind of anything to bolster that depth scoring would be good. But speaking of depth scoring, the Oilers are probably league worst. Most of these guys, I think 5 of the 6 bottom forwards have between 0 and 1 goals. Like, it's not great. Aside from Fogle and Evander Kane, I guess. Cap Friendly has Evander Kane on that third line. I haven't watched an Oilers game in a hot minute, so I don't know. Maybe things change. Also, they could be looking for a third pairing defenseman, maybe a goalie, maybe to upgrade in that department a bit. Fogle, expiring contract. We've heard from Connor McDavid that he does not want Warren Fogle traded. I think if you're looking to keep bottom 6 scoring, Fogle is one of those better bottom 6 or maybe third line players that can actually score on that team. But nonetheless, he will have some value. There will be teams interested in acquiring Fogle. So that could be one to watch. Matthias Janmark, expiring contract down here. The Connor Brown experiment has been awful. I don't even think Connor Brown has value, if I'm being honest, so I don't think he gets traded. Expiring contract, league minimum, I think. Adam Ernie, expiring contract, no offense there. Sam Gagner, again, no offense, expiring contract. And they have Desharnais on that blue line, expiring contract. I think he's 26 or 27. He's fine, but if you're looking to upgrade your blue line, he could be an expendable piece. Moving on to the Kraken. Oilers and Kraken have about between 800 and 950,000 in cap space, right? So it's going to be pretty close to dollar in, dollar out for these two teams. I think I have them buying, but this is a team. Watch and see what happens closer to the trade deadline. If they keep on the hot roll they are on and make a push for the playoffs, they'll be buying. If not, if they kind of fall back a bit or play 500 hockey from here on out, they could be selling. So that's a team to keep an eye on, thus the Kraken hat. They need offense. Second line center. Who is your second line center? You have a bunch of potential second line centers, none of which is really panned out. A top 6 forward. Your forward depth is great, but you need more high-end scorers. Eberle, having kind of a down year, expiring contract. I don't think they trade him, but nonetheless, could be one of those guys. Alexander Wenberg, again, could be on his way out, expiring contract. I like Wenberg. I think he fits well in Seattle, but nonetheless, he's going to hold a little bit of value. Yamamoto, restricted free agent. I think they acquired him in this last offseason. Has had an okay season, honestly. I don't think he's been all that bad. Do we see him moved? What do we see with Yamamoto? Justin Schultz, I don't think has quite been the right fit in Seattle. Could see him on the move as well. Kind of having a bit of an off year, I guess you could say, for his standards. That's not Drieger. Oh, yeah, it is Drieger. Drieger, expiring contract, right? You have Decord as your number 1. Is Drieger your number 2? Or if the price is right, do you sell Drieger for some type of return? And prospects, they have a ton of prospects. You can expend some of them. You have a ton of picks. I don't think they will sell picks. I don't have a history of selling picks, but they could. Flames, they need a shakeup. Their roster's not bad, but the pieces don't fit together. I think you make a good hockey trade. You trade a top 6 forward for a top 6 forward type thing. And defense, I think there's opportunity to upgrade a bit. I don't think their goaltending's been awful. I think a lot of that has fallen on their defense. But could we see something? Vladar, I don't have on the board. I don't think he gets necessarily traded, or maybe it's a backup goalie for a backup goalie situation, or they bring a backup goalie and they trade out Vladar for like a bottom 6 forward. But we could see almost anything out of the Flames. I don't think we'll see a lot, but we could. Elias Lindholm, if he doesn't get an extension, there's talks about him being extended. There have been talks. We haven't seen an extension yet. But if not, he could be on the way out. AJ Greer, good fourth line grinder, physical, could bolster up a fourth line for a playoff team. Noah Hannafin and Chris Tanev, both on expiring contracts without extensions. We'll see what happens with that. Again, Players are in talks with extensions, I guess, but we'll see. No extensions yet. Osterley, DeSimone, again, blue line guys. You can kind of trade out on expiring contracts and get some type of return rather than nothing. Dylan Dubé, potentially. Mangiapane hasn't had kind of a rough season in that cap hit. They could be looking to move that contract. While he has some value, if he continues at this rate, his value is going to continuously drop, kind of like Kuzmenko on the Canucks. I got Shillington. I like Shillington. I don't think Shillington gets traded, but expiring contract, right? I think he's a restricted free agent. Again, I don't think he gets traded, but moving on to the Ducks. What are the Ducks looking for? Who knows? Top 6 winger prospects picks. It's Ducks and Sharks. A lot of their roster will be for sale. Adam Henrique, Silverberg on expiring contracts. Henrique could intrigue some teams. Silverberg, tough contract to move. Alternate captain over in Anaheim. Offensive production is not there. Cap hit's high. So I don't know if Silverberg gets moved. Zegras, rumors have spouted about Zegras. I think if you're looking to upgrade in your top 6, Zegras could be a piece considering how many wingers you have or how many centers you have that are of top 6 potential. I think you have 4 top 6 wingers or top 2 centers. I keep saying wingers. I'm just talking about centers. So Zegras, while he has value, Max Jones hasn't quite panned out at the NHL level to this point. Showed flashes he can. Probably needs to change the scenery on an expiring contract as well. The Zegras is interesting. We'll watch it. Same with Gibson. Gibson, pretty decent cap hit at $6 million for a few more years. About a 9 to 907 save percentage kind of guy in the past few years, but playing behind some pretty brutal defenses. So we'll see if a team actually acquires Gibson. It's talked about every year. Cam Fowler, expiring contract. I don't know if he gets traded. One of those guys you'd like to see in the rafters one day in Anaheim. But nonetheless, could have some value, but also not having the greatest season either. And kind of a decent cap hit, so I don't know how movable Fowler will be. And Frank Vetrano, Vetrano I believe has term left on his contract. Good cap hit, already at 20 goals. This could be one of those lucrative pieces that gets moved, right? One of those trade bait pieces, and that's the definition of trade bait. Because he's probably not going to continue up this production. Historically, he hasn't. He's been in a good position in Anaheim to keep up this production, but I don't think he gets put in that position anywhere else, except maybe San Jose. San Jose, absolute fire sale. We could see some crazy moves out of San Jose. They have some intriguing pieces. There are players I don't even have on the board that we could see moved. Like Mikael Granlund, he's like at 0.8 points a game or something. He's been hot lately after a brutal start. Right? Could see Kevin LeBanc, Mike Hoffman, Kakko Kähkönen, low risk, high reward type of goaltender acquisition. Right? Kähkönen, capable of potentially being a fringe starter in the NHL. Played behind some brutal defenses the past several years. You trade him for like a 6th or a 7th overall pick, and he could be your backup goaltender, and he can be decent. He's shown flashes of that this year. Anthony Duclair could be on his way out. I believe he's on an expiring contract as well. Luke Cunnin, I believe, is still a restricted free agent. Once overall high draft pick. Reminds me kind of like Noel Acciari. Like, he works hard. He's always forechecking hard. He's willing to play physical and play the body. But also has a little bit of talent mixed in there as well. I think Nolan Acciari is a bit of a better player, but Cunnin, not bad. Could have some value. Nico Sturm, great fourth-line centerman. Really good on the defensive end of it. Can take draws when you need him to. Good face-off specialist as well. That would be an intriguing piece for some teams looking to upgrade that kind of fourth-line center role. Barabanov, potentially. Zadina, I know they got Zadina this year, and his stats aren't great, but you never know. Again, restricted free agent. If they retain a little bit of money for this year, we could see a team taking a risk on Zadina. Probably not, but Giovanni Smith could drop the gloves. A little bit of potential, kind of depth forward, fourth line forward type guy. Josh Bailey, they just signed Bailey. We'll see. Probably no teams are going to be interested in Bailey. That's why I have a question mark up there, but if he starts scoring like he has been able to in the past, we could see some team call about Bailey at the deadline for some type of run. And I got Carpenter up there just because of depth. Sharks, I'm wearing the Sharks jersey because I think We could see almost anything from the Sharks. I also got the Kraken jersey or Kraken hat on instead of the Locos hat because trade deadline is Locos. Because I think the Kraken will be a team to watch. That specific division, this is wrapped up. Let me know if you have questions, if you have anyone on the board, or if you think anyone's missing from the board. And I do apologize. My speaking today isn't all that great. I don't know what it is. Maybe because I slept too much last night. I don't know. But I appreciate you watching and bearing with me. And take care, all right?